to reconvene the regular meeting of the Brattleboro Selectboard. We know the meeting has been properly warned because we came in at 5:30 and went into executive session. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the January 9th, January 16th, January 23rd, and January 30th meetings of the Select Board. Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up is chair's remarks, and I have no remarks this evening. So I'll turn it to the town manager.
Thank you. I do have brief remarks this evening. I'm excited to share the news that we've been advised by the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation that we are going to receive a grant of $2,368,442 and change towards the major improvements that were made to our wastewater system a few years back. This is actually a grant that we applied for in 2013.
Wow.
But at the time, there was no funding in the program. We've been advised that there is now some funding available. Our application made us eligible actually to receive in excess of $5 million, but there isn't enough funding to pay out everything that everybody's eligible for. So they're making partial payments, but very substantial partial payments to those who have been approved for the grant. I'll have 2 weeks from tonight, we'll put on the agenda for you to formally accept and appropriate the funds. It'll be for the utility fund. These are specifically, it's a pollution control grant, specifically to pay down the balance on the money that we borrowed for the sludge and septage handling improvements that were made at the wastewater treatment facilities. For that particular component, there's a $10 million balance on the money that we owe to the state revolving fund, and this will bring that balance down below $8 million. So over the long haul, there'll be a significant benefit to the ratepayers and the utilities.
So we're going to have to talk about the rates again then.
We will be talking about the rates again then when we get to the spring and going through the utility fund budget.
Well, yes, you will be.
Unequivocally good news to get $2 million surprise from the state.
That's amazing they go retroactive.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No,
That's it? That's good news, good news. Does anyone on the select board have any comments or committee reports at this
We got $2
time?
million coming.
Pizza party.
I just wanted to note the passing of Dr. Renee LaPlante. Ray was an optometrist in town from the late 50s through the 90s. Lots of people, I'm sure, remember the stories that accompanied any eye exam. Anytime you ever sat down in the office, you were going to get a story. Most of the time, it was one you could repeat in public, but not always. Ray was my father-in-law, and he was 89.
Oh, that's right, David. I forgot that. Yes, he was your father-in-law.
Yep.
He was a great guy.
Yep. A lot of fun.
Yep.
Got his deer every year.
Oh, yeah. He had a great practice for a long time. Seems like that's all we're doing lately, though.
I know.
Too much of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Too much. Does anyone else have anything? No? Okay. Now it's time for public participation, and this is the time in the meeting where we ask the public if they want to say something about anything that is not on tonight's agenda. Yes, sir, please come up and tell us who you are and where you're from.
Well, I'm Howard Fairman. I live at 9 Canal Street. Ms. Chairwoman, this evening I'm making public a letter that I gave to Mr. Elwell on January 29th with some further developments. Mr. Elwell, with reference to our briefly meeting at my prior request during January 12th, 2018 in your office, I brought to your attention that radiators that should be heating the main room of the Gibson-Aiken Senior Center are at room temperature in wintertime. 2 weeks later, this remains true, confirmed by touching the uninsulated elbow in the large hot water pipe where it emerges from the furnace room, then enters the radiators. Radiators in the kitchen and smaller rooms are warm. Senior citizens no longer tolerate cold as we once could, especially while sitting still enjoying our Brattleboro Senior Meals congregate lunch. Speaking only for myself, I hope that we may have heat before spring is the excuse to wait until next winter. Signed, me, Shivering Senior. And I now add the latest developments, referring to Monday. Mr. Elwell, yesterday, outdoor thermometers attached to blocks of wood had been placed on tables where seniors enjoy our Brattleboro Senior Meals congregate lunches in our senior center. The radiators beside us along the southerly wall facing the bank parking lot still are not heating. When it's really cold outdoors, as it had been when we met in your office during January 12th, seniors sitting still eating our lunch feel really cold indoors. Your staff believe that these radiators are heating because they can hear them crackling. The purpose of radiators, however, is to heat, not to crackle, and these do not heat, while other radiators in the senior center do. Members of our Brattleboro Selectboard, can you get these radiators fixed?
Would you like?
Yeah,
So,
please.
we did look into the concern that was raised and learned that the entire Gibson-Aiken Center is on a single
Loop.
a cell, what do you call the?
Zone,
There's
yeah.
only one zone, there's not separate zones in the building. And so they do face a challenge there of, in order to make, they're trying to balance the various areas of the building so that no place becomes an oven in order that someplace else can be comfortable and no place becomes an icebox so that someplace else isn't too warm. It is true that along the outside wall that Mr. Farron's speaking of, it's cooler there than it is even elsewhere in that same large room where the senior center is. And it is one of the cooler areas of the building. What we're looking into is how much what would be the cost of creating some zones within the Gibson-Aiken Center, but that's going to be not a maintenance fix, that's going to be a capital investment. And so when we have an assessment of what the options are and what it might cost to do that, we're going to be back to address that with you.
Is there anything we can do in the meantime?
Mr. Farron, I'd like to apologize to you. I actually intended to convey that directly to you. I'm glad that you've come here tonight. I'm glad that we've reconnected on the issue because I didn't have either a phone number or an address for you in order to be able to provide a direct personal response. But that's the follow-up. That's why you've seen staff looking into the matter and addressing what's going on down there, is because we're hopeful that we're going to be able to install some zones.
Thank you, Mr. Elwell. I can certainly affirm that you have treated me very well in our interaction in this. I deliberately did not give you a way to contact me because it was not a matter of a personal conversation we might have. It was a matter of getting the heating system fixed, which I cannot do. I can only tell you that when seniors are wearing their winter clothes indoors, eating lunch, and more than that, these are my friends in their 80s, are wrapping their legs and hips in Afghans to stay warm. This is over the top.
Is there a temporary solution
That's what
that we
I
can
was
do?
just gonna say.
You know, some
Something.
4-foot-long electric
Yeah.
strip to put by the windows when it's really cold. And
By the windows is where it's going to be cold.
And that's
even-
where it's gonna be
even
cold.
With the new windows.
Right.
Which
You
is
know,
probably exacerbating it
you
because
can-
the building is
my
warmer.
God,
so
we
the
can
heat's
pick
not-
up some long
Yeah.
4 or 6 foot space heaters for,
I agree.
$75 each and plug them in.
Yeah.
It's going to up our electric bill, but
We'll do that.
They don't have to be
Couple
on.
months.
People
yeah, right.
While
But-
people are there eating.
Yeah.
Right. Throw them on and we
Yeah,
can
it
do
would be
something.
I want
February,
people eating their
March.
winter coats.
You should be able to chew your food without rattling your food.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I wish all of our problems were that easy to fix.
Is there anybody else in the public that would like to talk about something that's not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to liquor commissioners. Is there someone that would like to make a
So moved.
motion? John has made a motion that we convene as liquor commissioners. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. First up is a second-class liquor license. Is it for Rattan? Is that how you pronounce it? Rattan Corp., doing business as the Indo-American Grocery. And this is just, I guess, a name change, but would you like to explain?
Sure. Yeah, we did expect that somebody from the applicant was going to be present, but it's such a straightforward matter, I think that you can proceed. If you're comfortable with what I describe here in a second, I think you can proceed without them. What's happening is they are indeed changing the name of the company, but not the name of the establishment. They'll still be doing business as Indo-American Grocers. And they're adding one additional person as a director. And because of the name change and the additional director, the state requires that the liquor license actually be transferred, reissued as a license to the new entity. We've done all the normal reviews, including the most recent requirement about the liquor policy, the enforcement policy that's required now. They have submitted that, and the review from the police department and the fire department both came back with recommendation for your approval.
Does anyone on the board have any questions or comments about this? Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments? If not,
Well, I move to approve a second-class liquor license for Rattan Corp., DBA Indo-American Grocery, located at 69 Elliott Street.
we have a motion to approve a second-class liquor license for Rattan Corp. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn as liquor commissioners? We have a motion to adjourn as liquor commissioners. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now it's the final regular report of the Police Fire Facilities Project.
I'm sorry, because I'm very
I
happy.
should have counted them up, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know how many we did, but
Plenty.
probably, yes,
But
dozens.
where do you start counting?
Counting.
About the meetings?
15 years ago.
That's
years
true.
ago.
That's true. So this is the final of those regular sort of routine updates, just to describe what's happening with the project. It is now, of course, complete. And to give the financial report as the status of that changed over the many months that we've been involved for the last year and a half's worth of construction and in the planning prior to that. We will, as described in the written report, be back after going to the Police Fire Facilities Building Committee to review a couple of open questions about possible additional work at the police department. Actually, all of it would be at the police department. There's an item that's proposed by the fire department, but it's for the dispatch center, the police department, and then two other possibilities at the police department for some additional capital work that was not included within the project originally. And what we said all along, we would wait and get to the end and see if there were funds available that might make that the proper expenditure of those funds. So we will be reviewing that with the committee and then coming back to the select board for you to make a decision about whether you'd like to take any of those items to a special town meeting for action. At the time that we do go to town meeting, whether or not you're recommending any use of the remaining balance, there's about $300,000 that we expect to be available funds when all the bills have been paid. And whether or not you recommend that any of that be used for the three different purposes that have been proposed for police and fire, or whether you make some other recommendation, any use of those funds will require an additional town meeting action. And the reason for that is any use other than for the police fire facilities would have required town meeting action in any case. And within the overall $12.8 million budget for the projects, the three separate pieces of this one large project, there was an intermediate cap of $4.5 million in the authorization for the police station component of that. We bumped up against that. We've not exceeded it. We've made sure that we didn't. But we had one final bill to pay related to the police project that would have put us over. We're currently about $8,000 under. We have a $64,000 bill we needed to pay to finish paying for the installation of the electronics in the dispatch center. We've paid that bill from the town's capital fund, and we believe that it's appropriate at the time when this fuller matter is ripe to go to a town meeting, that we ask town meeting to allow that $64,000 bill to be backed out of the capital fund and be charged instead against the project so that all the costs of the project are properly accounted for. The $300,000 estimated final balance that we think is going to be available when all of the final bills have been paid is net of that 64. So in other words, we'd be estimating 364.
So it's
if
actually
not-
56 though, right?
Pardon?
It's 56 if you take out the 8.
If you take out the 8, yes,
Right.
that's true. But
Right.
but in terms of the overall balance for the whole job and the
Right.
use of the $12.8 million worth of bond funds, we believe we're going to be just about right on 300. We really actually will have a net balance of about 364 at that point, but we'll ask for the reallocation of that one piece.
So that's just semantic.
It really is just an accounting factor there, but it's one that's going to require a town meeting action. We wanted to make sure you are aware of it now so that as we move this matter forward to some final actions by the board and by town meeting, that you'll know why that is coming along as part of the package. From a policy-making point of view, the matter sort of before you tonight informationally and before you in the future for action is the proper prudent use of the $300,000 that's left over from the $12.8 million.
Now,
Have you heard anything about having another meeting with the committee?
Yes, the committee members haven't because we haven't
That would be
coordinated
nice
those calendars yet.
if we knew about it.
What we want to do is make sure that we've actually paid the final bill. So you saw in the report that's before you tonight, there's actually about $800,000 that remains unspent. But there's about $500,000 worth of that is going to be paid in paying of bills that has not quite been finished yet. We want to make sure that that all comes in and gets paid according to what we're anticipating so that we've got a real figure, not, it's a very solid estimate at this point. We're down to just the final bills. But if we were to have a policymaking meeting around what to do with the 300 and it turned out to be, 285, we don't want to get into some confusion later around that. So our expectation is that within the next few weeks, we'll be in a position where we'll actually then coordinate with all of your calendars and call the committee together to know exactly what the figure is, have that discussion so that you can offer your recommendation to the board. And I would expect, as soon as March or maybe April at the latest, we'd be back in front of the board with it.
So this probably won't happen for town meeting.
It will not happen for town meeting because it's
Right.
too late now to properly
Right.
warn it for town meeting.
Right.
So between now and town meeting, you might get to the point where the board is ready to
Right.
make a recommendation, but in any event, it would require a special town meeting to take action.
go ahead.
Just to be clear, the high roof area that we've heard about and the carport that we've heard about
Yes.
are the considerations, but then there's an additional consideration.
That's correct, which is a communications box. It's switching over the linkage from all the pull boxes in town for the fire alarm system from analog to digital. That's something that's planned for the future. There's an opportunity, if it is deemed appropriate, to invest in that now. And that is a matter of more fully outfitting the dispatch center. The other two matters, as you know, are more actually construction related, where the roof is something that we will be recommending to the committee, and I believe the committee will be recommending to you, although time will tell, because that's something that really all along each of us said to each other at various times, boy, we really ought to do that roof, shouldn't we? It's important to make sure that we don't have an old roof that might lead to leakage into a brand new renovated building. But because it had a $90,000 price tag attached to it, we needed to get near enough to the end to know that there were going to be sufficient funds available. So I think the roof is the highest priority. Behind that is the carport that we've had quite a lot of discussion around, and you'll have more discussion around it after you hear from the committee.
I'm going to ask a question I should probably know the answer to. How is it that that you can expend the $64,000 out of the capital budget without asking select board approval? Is
Because
it lower than a certain?
because we've disclosed it to you, and it was the proper legal place where we could expend the funds from as a temporary measure. If it stayed as a capital fund expense rather than switched over to a bond expense, we would need for you to authorize that. But we needed to pay the bill.
Okay.
And if we had paid it against the project, which is how it would have been properly accounted for, we would have gone to 4.55 million, and we were capped at 4.5. So we paid it from a source of funds where we had available money, and it was a capital account, not an operating account. It was a proper temporary place to do that. subject to disclosing it to you here and then moving on through the steps of either leaving that as a charge against the capital account or moving it over to be a charge against the bonds, which is what we think is more proper.
So money can, just to clarify this, money can be spent without select board approval?
Yes, there are times when it's not of this magnitude, but there are times when a project might be bid for,
Right.
very hypothetically, $35,000 worth of work, and it comes in at 41.
Right.
And we'll pay the bills, and that extra $6,000 is going to come out of the capital fund where the project's being paid for. That's why you see the balance in the capital fund fluctuate, because we also have times when you authorize something where the transfer to the capital fund might have $50,000 in it to accomplish a certain piece of work, but when we bid it, we get a $42,000 bid. So you award it for 42, we pay for 42, we get the thing done, and the $8,000 increases the balance in the capital fund. That, month by month and year by year, that balance is fluctuating based on the work that's going on and what's coming in over and what's coming in under.
I think I could see where you're going with this a little bit, but because this was a bond and it was approved by town meeting, and it is really kind of a clerical or
No, I get that.
You
I'm
get
just
that, yeah.
sort of saying,
Right.
like, it's sort of alarming to me knowing that money can be spent without us saying it's okay to spend it. And I get why this had to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's just, and I don't think anybody's doing anything bad, but I'm just saying it's.
Procedural.
Promise we're not. So my authority is $10,000.
Yeah. Right.
And when we expend above $10,000, we come to you and ask for permission in advance most of the time.
Yeah.
There are occasions when we need to do something in a hurry, and we do, and then we report to you, I spent more than $10,000 and I did it for
Yeah.
this purpose.
Yeah.
That's what we
Yep.
believed we were properly doing through this tonight.
I understand it completely, and I think I understand how it works, but I also get
Yeah.
why, because it's like, well, we said it's going to be 45 and that's it. And, the town meeting voted for it and everything. So when you get to 45, you stop
Right.
and come and ask us, we need more, can we take it out of this other account? But obviously you don't have to, and you don't, and that's not how it works. But it's kind of like, well, then what town meeting says they want doesn't really count, because we'll just go around the back door.
Right.
Get
Well,
it out of this other box.
he did ask me about his Belize trip, and I said, go ahead.
Only
Yeah,
take.
give them the credit card and off you go.
Thanks.
I've only got one more month, I really don't.
But that's how it works, and you can't not finish the job.
Right.
And it's important for us to pay our bills timely. This was actually a bill due and owing.
Sorry, Ray.
So we should pay the bill.
I-
Are there
Moving
other
on.
questions about anything? If not, I wanted to just call attention to the ribbon cutting this week, but are there any other substantive matters?
No. Does anyone else in the
Nothing
public have any
substantive.
substantive? Okay.
So Friday afternoon, we'll be cutting a ribbon at 3 o'clock on the Spring Street side. Weather permitting, we're going to be out on the apron of the Spring Street side of the fire station at Central Station on Elliott Street. And if it's inclement weather, then we'll be inside those bays that are right there at that same spot on the Spring Street side of the facility. So we hope that we'll get a good crowd there at 3 o'clock to participate in that ceremony. And then from 3 to 7, and I'm sure I'm speaking for the fire department, even though they're not here, it's a 24-hour facility. I'm sure they'll be happy to show anybody the station at pretty much any time. But the official open house to invite the community in and enjoy the celebration of the new facility is from 3 to 7 p.m. on this coming Friday, February 9th.
So it's
We hope everybody can be there.
pretty exciting couple days, because if I remember correctly, the love crawl is Thursday night.
That's correct.
So people go out and crawl around town sampling
Crawl.
spirits, and
Yes.
then to show up and get a snack at the
Crawl on over to the fire
the fire
department.
department. Or sleep,
What will we do on
sleep
Saturday?
against the wall. And come
Rest on
Get
Saturday.
one of
rest
those
on
Brattleboro shirts. That's what I want. I love Brattleboro shirts.
Can you get him in the chamber?
I don't know.
Okay, so anything else? That's good. Yeah, the other two police in West Beef Fire Station openings are really good. So
Yes.
I encourage people to come. They were really good.
I don't think I made the West B one, yeah.
No,
I did it
Still
with-
talking about that though.
Yeah. Huh?
Oh, you can come this
Can
time.
you grace us with your presence?
I may and I may not.
No, it was great, John, because they showed how when the truck comes in, the thing goes right on, the
Yeah.
vacuum goes right on
Yeah.
the exhaust pipe.
Yeah, I missed that.
It was really cool. There was a big gap underneath one of the doors too. Made sure that got on the checklist.
This meeting is full of it.
Oh,
We'll
crap.
go around and check everything.
Yeah, would you?
It's a ribbon cutting, an open house, and an inspection.
Inspection, right. Okay, now that we've done that, we'll move on to new business, and the first order of business is to approve the 2018 Certificate of Highway Mileage.
This is a biggie.
And I believe
So
Hannah
I look
is
forward to
here.
this one every
We've
year.
got an additional people.
Hannah.
Good evening. My name is Hannah Tyler. I'm the Highway and Utilities Superintendent. And we come here every time about this same meeting and ask for the Select Board to approve our Certificate of Highway Mileage. And so what this is the state of Vermont confirming with us that we have the same amount of mileage that we did last year. And they use that to calculate our state aid that we get for highways. This year we do have a slight change because of the way they've calculated their ramps on I-91, but it won't affect the amount of money we get because it's state road. But it is accounted under the town highway map as a whole.
So we increased
Yes, at no additional cost.
at no additional cost.
By 7/100ths of a mile.
I know. It's just, when I saw it, I just laughed.
Does
Glad to
it-
have it.
yeah, does anyone have any questions for Hannah? It's pretty straightforward. It's the same as we had last year, probably the year before, and the year before, and the year before.
It seems like we should have a question for you on this, but
Make it up.
I can't even.
We don't maintain it.
Can't even think of one.
Can you suggest a question?
I'll get back to you next Tuesday.
Be ready.
Yeah, she's ready for the next issue, item 2, so maybe we can think of something in between.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
No, apparently not.
I move to approve the certificate of highway mileage for year ending February 10th, 2018 as presented.
Brandy's made a motion to approve the certificate of highway mileage for the year ending February 10th, 2018. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And next up is the bridge inspection report. We're being asked to make a repair to the Kyle Gilbert Memorial Bridge on Main Street.
So every year they're not all inspected every year. Our bridges are on a 2-year cycle. So every 24 months, every single bridge over 20 feet is inspected in town. And so we get bridge reports back from the state. Most of the time they give minor recommendations. There may be, a little bit of scour or a post that needs to be replaced or just cleaned. But this bridge had a little bit of a bigger repair, so they wanted to bring it to our attention and make sure that we followed through as part of our state aid program. So they made us aware that one of the large stone blocks in the abutment on the Kyle Gilbert Bridge is missing. And we need to put that back. So we've already contacted a masonry contractor. And as soon as the temperatures are a little bit warmer and it's not spring flooding, we're gonna get right in there and work with him and put it back and let the state know that we fixed it.
Hannah, how old is that bridge? It's not that old.
No.
The abutments are original to the bridge.
okay.
The superstructure that's above
Right.
that is.
Oh, so they didn't
is
work on the
relatively
abutments
new.
when they built the bridge? I thought they did.
They probably
Yeah,
solidified them a little bit.
yeah.
Do we
It
think
was a little bit
somebody-
body before my time.
Did somebody take it? Or you think
Did
it
somebody
washed
steal
away?
the block?
It's a really good question,
a big
and I've
block.
actually been wondering it, but
It is a big block.
due to the weather and, it's hard
It
to get
didn't
under
say like
there.
crumbled or fell off. It was like missing. So it just had this vision of a.
They made note that some of that they need to be chinked around it. So it maybe a little bit loose
Yeah.
under there in general. If there was some high flow or if somebody's under there fooling around and being destructive, it may not be, would take some work. Don't get me wrong.
It's a lot of work. Get that out of there.
Sometimes.
Board,
Oh, yeah.
fidget.
And is there, behind the blocks, is there a concrete structure that also holds the bridge up?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not entirely familiar with the structural element, but I know that if the state had real concerns about its,
Yeah.
They would have said
They
something
would have
other
said,
than have a look.
oh my gosh, this is an emergency, especially being Route 5.
In addition to that, if you look at the page 101, that's the second page of this part of the notebook, it identifies what we're talking about, and then there's the photograph and the letter that come with it to show this block that needs to be replaced. But there's also a bunch of other ways in which the bridge is evaluated, and the condition of the bridge is very good, very good, good, very good, and not applicable for the first 5 ratings. And it was rehabilitated in 2003. So it's it's in really good shape compared to a lot of other bridges around the state.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any more questions for Hannah? Does anyone in the public have any questions about this? Would somebody like to make a motion?
Sure. I move to comply with the state's recommendation to repair the Kyle Gilbert Memorial Bridge abutment as recommended.
We have a motion to comply with the state's recommendation to repair the Kyle Gilbert Memorial Bridge. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Hannah.
Thanks,
Appreciate your
Hannah.
coming tonight.
No problem.
Next, we have...
Snowstorm tomorrow.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Next, we have a committee appointment, and we're being asked to make an appointment to the Planning Commission for a term ending June 30th, 2021. And we have one applicant. Is it, how do you pronounce Felicity's last name? Does anyone know?
Ready?
Ratty?
Rate.
Rate. So we have one applicant, and I don't know if there's anybody on the board that would like to make a nomination.
I would nominate Felicita Ratty to the Planning Commission for a term ending June 30th, 2021.
We have a motion to nominate or appoint Felicity Ratty to the Planning Commission. Are there any other nominations? All those in favor of appointing Felicity, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We have appointed Felicity to the Planning Commission to a term
Thanks, Felicity.
ending June 30th, 2021, I'm sorry. And we apologize if we mispronounced your last name. Now we have select board meetings, which have to do with the town meeting schedule. So I don't know if the town manager wants to go through those with us.
Sure. So there's 2 meetings we're asking you to announce this evening. Those are standard annual meetings, and we've proposed that they be held at their standard normal time that they're held each year. One of those is on Wednesday, March 14th at the Academy School in West Brattleboro, with the doors opening at 6 p.m., caucuses beginning at 6:30, and the meeting starting at 7. We're asking you to schedule the informational meeting in preparation for the annual representative town meeting. Traditionally, that has been held on the Wednesday that is 10 days prior to the representative town meeting. So that's what we're proposing through that item. We also are proposing that the board schedule its organizational meeting for the new board members to be sworn in, and for the board, the 2018-2019 select board to elect its officers on Monday, March 26th at 5:30, right here in the select board meeting room. That, again, is in keeping with the tradition of holding it at the first opportunity following the representative town meeting on Saturday, the 24th of March, by coming together on Monday evening, March 26th. So those two things we're asking you to announce as the time of and location of those meetings. The one other item in this cluster of three is asking you to announce the relocation of the March 6th meeting, 1 month from tonight. It'll be town meeting day, and this room will be being used for the election. And so, as has been our standard practice here in the last year or so, since the renovation over at the library meeting room works well for us to hold a select board meeting when we need to be someplace other than here. It's right here nearby. People are getting used to that being the alternate location. Works for BCTV. So we're asking that you schedule the March 6th select board meeting to be held at the library meeting room.
Does anyone in the select board have any comments about the proposed schedule?
Looks like a good plan.
Does anyone in the public have any comments about the proposed schedule?
It's your last chance for the night, Nick.
Randy has a comment or question.
I would just remind the public of how exciting attending the Wednesday, March 14th meeting can be at Academy School, with opportunities to be caucused in as town meeting reps and to feel the energy of other people who are civic-minded and really get involved.
And there are lots of openings.
Lots
There's
of
a lot.
openings.
It's an
There's a lot.
opportunity.
Yes, indeed.
I think there's like 13 in District 1.
It's a
and-
lot.
So
There's a
please,
lot.
Do it.
takes a couple days a year.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion
Okay. Who's a big one?
to relocate the regular March 6th meeting to the Brooks Memorial Library meeting room. Number 2, to schedule the annual informational meeting on Wednesday, March 14th, 2018 at Academy School, with caucuses starting at 6:30 p.m. and the meeting starting at 7 p.m. And also schedule the organizational meeting on Monday, March 26th, 2018 at 5:30 p.m.
Great. We have a motion in regards to our March 6th meeting, March 14th meeting, and March 26th meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. With our official business being done, would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We have adjourned.
That's it?
And and thanks for everybody who's involved in this meeting.
That hurts.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, ASL.
Yep, thanks for watching and participating.
Thanks, BCTV. Thanks, Nick.
Bye, Nick.
Thanks, Portal.